There is a joke in the wine industry that explains the whole business in one sentence. To become a millionaire winemaker, you have to start out as a billionaire. Most people laugh. The people who actually own vineyards nod slowly. You buy land today. You plant vines. You wait 3 to 5 years before those vines produce anything usable. Another 10 before they produce something worth talking about. The wines people pay serious money for come from vines that are 30, 40, 50 years old. You just bought something that won't pay you back for a decade. This is the first lesson. Most industries with a romantic reputation have a time trap built into the entry. The vineyard has it. The restaurant has it. The hotel has it. The art gallery has it. You fall in love with the product, you forget that the product takes years to build, and the bills arrive monthly. Now, the land itself. In Argentina, a producing vineyard costs around $30,000 per hectare. In Napa Valley, up to $500,000. In Bordeaux, $800,000. Champagne, over €1,000,000 per hectare. And in the Grand Cru vineyards of Burgundy, some parcels have sold for over €30 million per hectare. Same crop, same grape variety, same chemistry of fermentation, same bottle. Prices that differ by a factor of 1,000. What is in the expensive dirt that is not in the cheap dirt? Nothing physical. Nothing a chemist can isolate and transplant.
The difference is something wine people call terroir, the specific combination of slope, drainage, microclimate, and vine age of that exact piece of ground. And more importantly, the story attached to it. The centuries of reputation built on that story. The agreement, shared by buyers across generations, that this specific hillside produces something different. The Romanee Conti vineyard in Burgundy is 1.8 hectares, smaller than 3 football fields. It produces around 400 to 500 cases of wine per year. That is all it has ever produced. A single bottle sells for $15,000 or more. That vineyard reportedly did not become consistently profitable until 1972. It was producing wine for centuries before that. This is the second lesson. The most valuable thing in luxury markets is something that cannot be scaled, cannot be moved, and cannot be replicated. The Romanee Conti is not expensive because someone decided to make it expensive. It is expensive because it is the only one. There's no factory in Argentina that can produce the same thing at a lower price. The scarcity is geological, not manufactured. Every luxury business that works long-term has figured out a version of this. A specific address, a specific craftsman, a specific story that only exists once. When you can replicate something, the price converges toward the cost of production.
When you cannot replicate it, the price is set by how much someone wants to own the only one. Now the mechanics that explain why the bottle you buy costs what it costs. A $5 bottle of wine and a $50 bottle cost almost the same to produce. The liquid in a cheap commercial wine costs around 70 cents to make. The liquid in a $50 bottle costs maybe $3 to $8 more. The physical difference is a few dollars. Everything else you are paying for is the story, the address, the label, the critic score, and the chain of hands the bottle passed through before reaching you. About that chain. In the United States, and with slight variations in most wine importing countries, wine moves through a 3-layer system before it reaches you. The winery makes it and sells to a distributor. The distributor sells to a retailer or restaurant. Each step takes a cut. A bottle the winery made and sold for $12. The distributor adds margin. The retailer adds more. You pay $22 to $25 at a wine shop. If it is on a restaurant list, the story is more dramatic. The same $12 wholesale bottle appears on the menu at $60 to $70. The winery received 20% of what you paid. The bottle traveled through 2 middlemen and landed on a list where the margin is the highest in the entire chain. The wine did not change. The price multiplied by 5.
This is why the smartest people in the wine business are obsessed with selling directly. When a customer walks into your tasting room and buys a bottle, you keep the entire price. No distributor, no retailer, no restaurant markup. The same bottle that generates $12 through the distribution chain generates $35 to $50 through your own front door. The tasting room is not a nice weekend experience, it's the entire financial logic of the business. This principle applies far beyond wine. Any business that sells through multiple layers of middlemen is watching its margin disappear before it sees the customer. The businesses that survive long-term in crowded industries are the ones that found a direct path. The ones that kept the middlemen in place are the ones paying for other people's margin with their own profit. Now, the thing nobody tells you about wine pricing that will change how you buy wine for the rest of your life. Wine critics, the influential ones with public scores and large readerships, can increase a wine's price by 20 to 50% with a single review. Same grapes, same barrel, same winery, same vineyard. The score changed. The price followed the next day. This creates a very specific consumer opportunity. The wines rated 94, 95, 96 points receive enormous attention and enormous price premiums.
The wines rated 88, 89, 90 points from the exact same producer, the exact same vintage, sometimes the same vineyard, receive almost no premium. The quality difference between a 94 and an 89 from a skilled winemaker is often smaller than the price difference. The smart wine buyer looks for the 88-point bottles from producers who regularly score in the 90s. The reputation is established, the label is trusted, but the specific bottle was not celebrated, so it was not bought up, so it is still available, and it costs 40% less. On a restaurant wine list, the best value is typically in the $30 to $40 range. Below that, you are paying for cheap production. Above that, you are paying for reputation markup that accelerates faster than quality. The $35 bottle on a restaurant list often delivers more per dollar than the $120 bottle 2 lines below it. The restaurateur's margin is more predictable in that middle zone and less extreme. Now, the two types of vineyard that actually work, and the middle ground that kills everyone. Some vineyards go big, maximum grapes per acre, efficient machinery, industrial process, cheap land in regions where volume is the strategy, South America, Spain, parts of California's Central Valley. The margin per bottle is thin. The volume makes it viable. These wineries are not romantic. They are factories with vines.
Some vineyards go the opposite direction. They limit production deliberately. They make less wine from each vine to concentrate quality. They have a specific terroir story that cannot be replicated anywhere else. They charge accordingly. They have waiting lists. They do not need distributors because their customers come to them. Everything in between is where most people lose money. A medium-sized vineyard with decent but unremarkable terroir, distributed through 3 middlemen, competing against 1,000 other bottles on the same shelf, with no story that makes it stand out. This is the most common type of vineyard in the world. And statistically, it loses money slowly while the owner convinces himself the next vintage will be the one that turns it around. Only 9% of wine growers globally earn what experts call a sustainable return. Not a great return, just enough to justify continuing. The ones who survive long-term went industrial at scale or found genuine, irreplaceable terroir. The dreamers who landed in the middle are paying what is effectively a lifestyle tax. And here's the honest truth about that lifestyle tax. A vineyard is one of the few assets in the world that combines financial potential, physical beauty, cultural prestige, and a built-in identity. You are not just an investor. You are someone who makes something people consume at their most celebratory moments. Most vineyard owners know the numbers are difficult. They do it anyway.
There is a second wine joke that explains this. Why do people buy vineyards? Because they cannot afford yachts. The yacht depreciates the moment it leaves the dock. The vineyard at least has land underneath it. And land, even when the wine business loses money, tends to appreciate over time. Many vineyard owners make their real return not on the wine,
but on the underlying real estate. The business is the story they tell. The land is the actual investment. The two are often confused. The ones who understand the difference tend to survive. Now, what all of this means for you probably will not own a vineyard, but you will buy wine, and you will see other industries through the same lens. Every business that sells something people love has a version of the terroir story, a reason why the price bears no relationship to the production cost. The brand is the terroir. The story is the scarcity. Every business that sells through multiple middlemen is paying for access it might be able to build itself. The margin it loses in distribution is not a cost of business. It is a tax on not knowing its own customers. And every business that lands in the romantic middle, too small to compete on price, too unknown to command a premium, too proud to go industrial, too under-resourced to build genuine luxury, will spend years working very hard for returns that do not justify the effort. The wine industry makes this visible because the product is so visible.
But the same trap exists in restaurants, boutique hotels, craft furniture, independent bookstores, and hundreds of other industries where people fall in love with what they make and forget to fall in love with the economics of making it. The romanee conti makes 400 cases a year, does not advertise, does not discount, does not worry about its distributor margins, and a bottle sells for $15,000. That is the dream. The economics that got it there took 300 years to build. Most things worth understanding do.